So apparently I just recorded this entire video with my mic muted, so we're just gonna have to do this all over again. Take 476. We're gonna be talking about the new little free 5-star thing that they rolled out for the 6-year anniversary over on JPFGO. So basically what this is if you complete Fuyuki, you get a free 5-star, but if you've already beaten Fuyuki, they're giving you an opportunity to claim that free 5-star as well. So what I'm gonna do in this video is, I guess in the last video I made the tier list, but since we didn't get the audio for that, I guess I'm just going to go over why all these servants are where they are. We're going to kind of talk about who's really good to pick, all that yada yada, all that good stuff. But if you enjoy FGO content, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button as I upload these videos every single day. And if you really enjoy what I do, go ahead and click that join button to become a channel member if you really like what I do and want to go that extra mile in supporting the channel. Now, with that being said, it should be very obvious why Waver is at the top. He is a very, very good general support type servant. He gives one ally 50% NP, and he charges the entire parties by 20%. He gives everybody just general good buffs that anybody would want, like 50% crit damage, a 20% attack buff, I believe it's 20%, 30% defense, something like that for the entire party with damage cut. Then his NP lowers defense, stuns, has curse, but who cares about that? And then also drains enemy NP charge, it's AoE, so he's just very, very good. I can understand not picking Waver if you A, already have him, obviously, or B, you have Castoria, Scotty, or Koyenskaya, because if you have one of those three, you can basically loop with whatever card type you want, right? If you have Castoria, you're set for art servants. If you have Scotty, you're set for quick servants. Koyenskaya, you're set for buster servants. So at that point, you could just go ahead and pick a servant that you think would be really good with the support caster you already have. I would still say that Waver's a solid choice, even if you don't have him and you have the main support casters, because Waver is just so generally good that you can slap him into any team comp. He also is very good for Chen Gong memes as well, because characters like Chen Gong just want as much NP as they could possibly get. So you're going to want to funnel in Castoria, then, Waver, then, your Scotty, everybody like that. So never a bad idea to get Waver. But if you already have him, or I don't know, maybe you're just a new player and you happen to get Koyenskaya on your first single and you're starting the game, who should you pick? It's the second line. For people that basically they don't want or need Waver because they already have, other supports, or they already have him, these would probably be the servants I would recommend going for. Ku Alter, especially for newer players, is going to be insane because not only is he a berserker and he's going to be very good in any and all boss fights, but he can basically solo anything in the entire game, right? There are very few fights that he can't solo, and those are usually the fights where the bosses just start removing your buffs randomly. They're just oh, you have your dodges and your guts built up, yeet, we're just going to take that off of you real quick. So outside of rare instances like that, because it's not super common, you can basically solo anything in the entire game, and he's basically going to carry you up until Lost Belt, and even then he's going to be able to beat up most of the Lost Belt bosses there. Osaka Behime, a very, very good support as an assassin. So we kind of just got to see that with Koyenskaya, how good a lot of these support assassins are. People are starting to really warm up to the idea of non-caster supports, especially with now, we have Reigns, we have Hime, we have Koyenskaya. Let's not forget how good Hime is. Between her first skill and her NP, she is giving crazy survivability to the entire party with the massive defensive buffs, the max HP raise. Then she's also giving the entire party a 50% crit buff for 3 turns. She's lowering one enemy's defense and removing their buffs. Her second skill is a targetable 20% NP, little, I don't want to say battery, because it's kind of small. 20% ain't 50%, but it's still decent that she has that. And then her NP also gives a 30% quick and buster buff. That I believe it's 30% and it lasts for 3 turns. So very, very solid. She and Tamamo are kind of in the same position where they're secondary buffers. It's you would probably bring Castoria over Tamamo most of the time, but let's not forget how good these two are and how solid they are and what team comps they do allow. Because speaking of Tamamo, people think she got bullied out of the arts meta because of Castoria, but let's not forget that between Tamamo's 30% NP damage and her 50% arts battery, if you're not fighting a threat to humanity, Tamamo actually gives an art servant more damage than Castoria does, because Castoria only gives 20% attack on her first skill and a 50% buff on her third skill with the arts battery. Now, obviously there's a little asterisk where your Castoria, if you pop her NP while you have her first skill active, she will give even more attack and will start to out-damage Tamamo. Or if you're fighting a threat to humanity, she will obviously out-damage Tamamo. But at base, Tamamo does give more damage. That does require you to fire off Castoria's NP, which if you're farming, might not be the best thing, although if you're farming while using Tamamo. So it kind of goes back and forth. You know, I try to stand on Team Tamamo because, you know, we love Tamamo around here. I try to give her as much credit as possible. Her NP's still super busted. I mean, the overcharge is that she charges the entire party's NP, and it starts at 25%, so you slap her at the end of an NP chain, and you're going to get her to, like, overcharge 3, where she's giving, like, 40% NP to the entire party, reducing skill cooldown, giving, like, a 2k heal at NP 1. Tamamo's nutty, alright? Then you have Maeve. Maeve is, like, this crazy male support. Like, let me show this, because I feel like I actually have to show Maeve for people to believe that she's this good. But, like, between, like, this skill, where she's giving, like, males 20% attack, and then, so, you know, they're getting 40% attack. I don't know why I had a brain fart there, but she's giving them 40% attack. So I thought this, I don't know why I had a brain fart. I thought this was supposed to say 40%. I was like, why does it not say 40%? Am I wrong? And it's like, no, she gives males a total of 40% attack with this one skill. It just gives the entire party 20% and double buffs males. But then this, she gives males an additional 30% NP. So between, like, these two skills, she's really buffing up males while also taking care of herself with the debuff immunity, the heal, and then the NP gauge every single turn. She has a charm that actually reduces enemies' defense now as well, so she gets even more damage. She has a crazy anti-male niche. Sorry. After recording these videos like 3 different times, dude, my voice is starting to go a little bit, so if I die halfway through this recording, that's why. But I'm going to try to make it through for you boys. But special anti-male niche. So, like, usually, like, a lot of, you'll see people in here, like, you have, like, Jack and, like, Karna that are here more for their gimmicks. She would be down there if it wasn't for her being such a godly support. And then, let's talk about Ozzy. Ozzy got an insane glow up. Like, they just buffed his NP, and he has such insane synergy with all of his skills now. So, first skill is now, like, a charisma that gives him 10 stars and 30% party crit damage, you know, all for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. That's crazy. They buff his NP, where he gives himself Sunlight Battlefield for 5 turns, and it reduces skill cooldown by 1. Why is the skill cooldown by 1 important? Well, this lasts for 5 turns. This, his battery skill, is on a 6-turn cooldown. But, oh wait, you pop his NP, now it's on a 5-turn cooldown, meaning that if you don't have his NP in 5 turns, you should at least be at 80%, and then he can pop this and guaranteed just keep the Sunlight buff on all the time. So the synergy with Ozzy's skills is very, very crazy. He's definitely gotten very insane after he's getting these buffs. And who knows, man, maybe they'll buff that to protection from Amun-Ra EX or something. It becomes like a 40% party battery, something crazy. 30%? 30% party buff success rate for 3 turns. Additional party crit damage for 20%, so now he's giving 50% to everybody. He would be stupid nutty. Or it just gives him a buster buff, something like that. Ozzy's already crazy. He's a very, very good servant. Everyone in this third tier, though, these should all be pretty self-explanable. Self-explainable? I don't... Which one is the right word? I don't actually know. But anyway, you guys know what I'm saying. These are all, like, really good farming servants. Like, Artoria, 30% battery, one of the hardest hitting sabers in the entire game. Or AoE sabers, I should say. 50% battery, you know, decent damage, you know, good AoE buster lancer. 50% battery, that's why you're here. 80% battery, good single target damage. 30% battery with a saber face niche. 30% battery, has NP gain, decent with Scotty, but if you don't have Scotty, probably don't pick him. 50% battery, you have a 20 or 30% battery, but these two can be used with Castoria to Arts Loop. Scheherazade does it a bit better than Anastasia, if I recall correctly, but both very solid. Europa's fine, 30% battery, decent buster rider, although you would probably just pick Drake over Europa if that's what you're going for. Napoleon's kind of like Gilgamesh, where he has a, they have similar damage, but instead of having damage against, you know, just basically every servant in the entire game, he has a damage buff against Divinity. If you're going to pick an archer, I would go with Tesla. He has a 50% battery and has the Earth and Sky buff, which is a bit better in my opinion, but, you know, also that 50% battery is just going to make him a bit better than Napoleon in most scenarios. She's here because of her special damage mod against females. If you bring her to any female fight, especially a Berserker or Rider female fight, she will tear them a new butthole and destroy them. Then you have Karna. The only reason he's up here and Arjuna's in this other tier is that he at least got the anti-divine niche on his NP. So Karna actually does really big damage. We even double checked. I was like, dude, I'm not crazy, right? Like they didn't shaft Arjuna by like not giving him anti-divine, right? Like surely they gave it to both of them, but no, what they gave to Arjuna is that against divine enemies, he has an extra chance to insta-kill them, which, you know, insta-kill is great in FGO. Why would we not want that instead of an extra 150% extra damage, you know? I wonder which one is better. Think. But Quetzalcoatl's down here because she's not bad, okay? Like Quetzalcoatl's not terrible. It's just that, like, her buff was that her charisma now drops 25 stars, which is good for her being a crit rider. But here's my problem, and it comes from her third skill. It's that, like, it's just a little dated now. Like, the 50% crit damage and the little bit of star weight is fine. She doesn't need high star weight because she's a rider. She already has really high natural star weight. But if this was, like, 3 turns, it would make her so much better, right? So she's just a little dated at this point. They at least had the foresight to make that 3 turns, because God forbid that lasted for 1 turn, and that would be atrocious. But give her like an NP damage buff, update the third skill, and Quetzalcoatl will be in the same tier as Ozymandias, dude. She'll be crazy. And Kidu's up here because he's just a very good survivalist servant. I mean, I think he still has the most NP. Hold on, let me check FGO NP damage, because he's either number 2 or number 1 right now. Yeah, it's always him and Musashi. So, okay, Musashi hits harder if they don't have their buffs. If they have their buffs, he far out damages Musashi. So, he's here basically because he can chunk, you know, really hard bosses, because that's what the threats to humanities are. And he's a very good survivability servant. Although, if you're going to go for someone in this tier, because you already have these people, he's probably the last servant I would pick. You know, it'd be like him and Quetzalcoatl will be like the last 2 I'd pick, because I think everybody else here has at least some other use where it's like really big damage, 50% batteries, good for her 80% battery, and synergy with Arch teams with the NP gain buff for her third skill. Decent damage mod against saber faces, you know. Then these are kind of like a little bit of a whiff. Like, yeah, maybe you could use them, maybe you couldn't. 50% battery, good. 30% battery with a really good damage mod. One of the best damage mods in the game, just fighting females, because everybody in this game is a female, apparently. Decent damage mod against divinity like him. It's just you only have a 25% battery. He needs a little bit of work, but Karna will definitely be crazy once they buff him. Like, let's just buff that first skill. I think he becomes absolutely nutty. But yeah, then it's like these two. So, you know, we'll see. The problem with these guys is a lot of them are either like let's say like Jean. Like, Jean is good, but she needs like 1 or 2 more buffs before I can like actually put her up here with everybody else. Because her NP is good, her second skill is good, but her first and third skill are still like pretty bad. They definitely need to slap something on those to really buff them up. But once they do that, Jean will be very good. Altera is kind of unfortunate because she kind of had the dichotomy that, say, like Iskandar right here has with Drake, where like she hits way harder, but Drake has a 50% battery, so who do you use? The Oonga Booga damage or the 50% battery? That's how it used to be, but as you can see, Artoria now far out damages Altera, so it really doesn't, you know, you're always going to use Artoria over Altera, and then these guys are even starting to catch up. Like, these guys with batteries are starting to catch up. Like, these two are like a buff away from being able to just casually out damage Altera. Like, the damage is already really comparable, plus they have a special damage mod, so yeah, Altera she's gonna need some buffs to really get there. Arjuna is just really unfortunate. Like, Karna and Arjuna are built very weird. It's just Karna got very lucky in the way that like his third skill, the crit damage and the star gen, lasts for 3 turns, whereas Arjuna got slapped with a lot of like 1-turn buff things. And then the special damage mod, the niche that they got, he got 150% damage against divine. You got an insta-kill bonus, which is really bad. Nightingale, her skills are all very good. If you look at her skills in NP, you'd be like, this is a really solid servant, but she's a berserker, which means as a support type servant, she is poo-poo stinky because she dies all the time. If her second skill gave her like 50% defense against humanoids instead of only 25%, I think that would greatly help her out a lot. It would drastically assist in her survivability. Orion's actually better than people think. The problem is that like third skill, the crit damage is like 34%, which is whack. She also gets competition with Uriel, who's like a free 3-star, who kind of does the exact same thing she does. So it's really hard to recommend Orion for a lot of people. She's not bad if you do end up picking her, because Who knows? Maybe you have Super Orion and you want to run Artemis and Orion together. You want to have some cute memes, right? That's fine. Like, she'll do okay. She won't be terrible, but there are definitely better options. Sitsunai is going to be really difficult for newer players to use because a lot of her stuff is very wackly built. Now, I do enjoy using Sitsunai, but the main issue comes from her third skill here. Because if we go over to her third skill, you're like, oh, dude, we're getting attack, crit stars, NP gauge, it's all good, but these are both 80% chances, which means you can whiff them, and if you do whiff them, it's going to be really unfortunate. If this also just reduced any enemy's NP gauge by one, it'd be very good. Because I've gone on record saying that I love it when arts NPs have this, because you're supposed to spam them, so it basically means you can constantly keep your enemy's NP suppressed. But I get why they did it. She got released during Oniland, so they're like, oh, Sitsunai's coming out with Oniland, and, what's her name? Shuten Doji has the dragon trait, so haha, memes, we got it. Like, we'll just give her that. So, buff her NP, give her, like, something to buff her success rate, and I think we're fine with Sitsunai. So, she's like 1 or 2 buffs off, and then she'll be really good. These guys aren't bad. Zhang Yu's crazy. Like, he's got, like, what, 150% crit damage? Like, skill 1 is 100%, and then skill 2 is, like, a 30% art, not arts, a Buster Quick and 50% crit damage buff, and those all last for 3 turns. Bottom line, dude, he's crazy. He has, like, Pierce Invincibility for, like, 30 turns. The dude is whack. He refunds his own stars. He has, like, a 5,000% star weight. He's absolutely crazy, but if you're going to go for a Berserker, go for Kualter, right? I know he's single target and he's AoE, but you'll get way more mileage out of Kualter. Leishwin and Vlad, they could be in this higher tier if you have Castoria. Because I think, like, Vlad especially. Vlad, if you can support him correctly, competes with Galatea. And I think Galatea is very, very good. Leishwin, very solid. The problem is that as a newer player, you know, if you're going to go for someone single target because you want someone to help you kill bosses, just bring Kualter. Better survivability, less, like, manageable, like, or easy to manage, right? Because Leishwin, you got to use his skills on, like, certain orders, right, to kind of get him to burst correctly. So, and it's also like, I mean, even if you have Castoria, I'd probably still tell you to pick somebody else on this list, because you could just use Hassan of the 100 Personas, who seems to get forgotten about a lot. So, it's kind of why, like, Leishwin's down here. I'm like, you just have better options to pick. Janako's not bad, but I don't recommend a new player going for a Moon Cancer. It's probably going to be one of the most least useful things for you to pick. Because if you're like, what about the Hessian Lobo fight from 1.5 in Shinjuku? Dude, just bring Kualter and poke him 2 times and he dies. Bradamante's down here because I have extensively used Bradamante and I am severely disappointed. I don't know what they were thinking when they built this servant. She needs extensive amounts of help. Please give her like 100% NP gain for like 5 turns. Please help her out. She's adorable. I like her. She's cute. She's hot. Just give her some buffs so I can actually use her, please. So with that being said, that's basically the guide to like the 5-star servants. I know I had to kind of like speed run through it, but I've already done this video like 5 times. Hopefully this recording goes through. If you guys enjoyed, remember, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. My links are all down in the description down below. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late, guys.